Don't let money write your story. Hi everybody, we are Mike and Brenda Baker, and today we are talking about marriage versus money.
So, one of the biggest, or I should say, one of the number one causes of divorce amongst most married couples, not just remarried couples, is finances. And a lot of times it's because really somebody's hiding something, somebody made a mistake, they don't see why they should have to share what's going on in the finances. Either the woman locks down, the man locks down. I mean, take your pick. In this case, it's not one side or the other that does something more than the other side. But when it comes to blended family finances, or even money problems in remarriage, there are some different things that affect things. In the fact that you're dealing with child support, you're dealing with outgoing child support, you're dealing with incoming child support, and the problem is that you're dealing with the emotions that go with those things too. And yes, child support is emotional. I'm not going to sit here and lie when I had my kids over half the time while they were growing up and I still had to pay child support. So yeah, I was pretty darn glad the day my child support ended.
Well, and it wasn't just child support that we paid. We also paid for their schooling, all of their clothing, all of their school supplies. Like, we paid for everything, plus we had them most of the time. And so it was a very hard check to write, if you will. Now, I'm sure that you've all experienced this. You all know what we're talking about here, because child support is really, it's hard to pay, because it's easy to look at your ex and be like, okay, they have a brand new car, which was the case for us.
Yeah.
She had many new cars. They're,
Wait, not all at one time.
No, just over the period.
Yeah.
When
I want to make sure we're accurate. That's
Yeah.
all. Not all at one time.
When we could barely afford to have a working car. It was really a challenge. So, when you come to the approach of doing your finances together, that's going to look a lot of different ways for a lot of different people. And so what we always tell people is we believe that putting your finances together is always the best. Now, when it comes to child support, I personally have seen it work where the child support is off to the side and it is used only on the children. It's not used for anything else. It's used for if the child needs something, if they want to do a fun thing. The issue comes up when you are paying for your child to go do something, but your stepchildren are not taken. That's a no-no. We would never, ever encourage you to leave the stepchildren out. We believe that all children in the house are both you and your spouse's responsibility. And so you have to figure out what to do with that. And so, you have to determine what it looks like when you sit down with the money. Because yes, you probably both have payments and things like that you have to take care of. But why not put it all together?
So, our first point here is to choose a united approach in debt, his, hers, or ours. All right, now keep in mind, we're a Christian-based channel. And so that's the advice we're going to give you. So if you're not Christian-based, you're more than welcome to stay, and these things will help you. But your opinion on things, if you don't have God, is irrelevant here. Okay? So I'm just saying. So here's the big thing I keep coming across. And I notice it especially in blended families, is the separate accounts. Well, she has her account, and I have my account. Or he has his account, and she has it. Okay, that is not Scripture. Not Scripture. I'm telling you right now, you didn't start a business, you started a family. Okay, those should be one account and the same. Now, am I saying you can't have other accounts? No, we're going to go into other accounts and how those operate. But if you truly want to be honest, transparent, and have integrity and honor, then you are going to have to mesh those together. There's zero reason to separate accounts. Well, I don't, I have things I spend my money on and she has. No. Find me in Scripture where that's allowable. Find me in Scripture where it says that the two shall not become one flesh. How about that? Okay, so here's the thing. It isn't yours and ours. Now, the problem comes in the fact that you're a mixed family, a blended family, okay? Well, but I don't want to pay his child support. You should have thought about that before you got married.
Yes.
Well, I don't want to pay her child support. You should have thought about that before you got married. Well, this money is for my kid. Okay, now it is possible, like Brenda was saying, to take that money and put it aside for things for only that child, but have a family meeting about what that's all about. Now, if you're taking that kid on fun trips and things like that, that the other kid's wrong. That's not family. That's segregation. Stop it. Okay? You're basically saying, well, unfortunately for you guys, his dad loves him more. That's exactly what you're saying. Okay? So you need to be super, super careful. Super careful. The other thing you got to understand with child support is you just need to let it go.
Yeah.
Let it go. Treat it like it's a bill. Because here's the deal. Do you think that money, because if you've got money together and he or she is paying child support, and sometimes she does, do you think that it's going to just come out of his or her money? No, it comes out of your money, both of your money. So why is the incoming child support not just going where it needs to go as well? All right. So I'm not trying to tell you how to do it. I'm just telling you that you cannot segregate. Segregating is going to cause division within the household. If you're going to keep that money separate, you've got to be smart about it. And the family, the entire family, needs to know that that's what you're doing and why. All right. So that actually brings us kind of into number 2 at the same time. Now, it should be, like I said, it should be a joint account. Should be a joint account. This whole separate, dumb. It's not scriptural. All right. You're sowing the seeds of doubt, of future doubt. Now, some of you, and bitterness. Now, some of you, I can already see you rolling your eyes. Well, we've done it for however many years and it works fine. No, you think it works fine. You think it works fine. Okay? I guarantee there are some things going on in the background you probably don't know about because you have allowed space for doubt within the marriage in doing that. So, with that, number 2, decide who handles what, but don't disconnect. Rarely, okay, now in households where we were talking about 2 separate accounts, I have seen households with the husband and the wife, and they deal with their own bills. The husband deals with his bills with his check, she deals with her bills with her check, and then they throw money into a mutual account. Once again, silly. There's bugs flying across here, sorry. Silly. Stinking silly, all right? Once again, sowing the seeds. If you don't trust somebody enough to see what you're doing with your money, don't get married. Don't. It's ridiculous. But typically, one or the other is going to do the bills.
And really, when it comes to the all the money being in the same account, it's the same as if you both have cell phones and you keep yours locked and your spouse isn't available to your spouse. We have the same password on our phones because, and I don't know how you feel about this, but I'm just like, I have nothing to hide. I don't care.
Yep.
Get in my phone.
Yep. She can answer my texts. I don't care.
Mike didn't have his phone earlier today, and so if he would have asked me, I would have given him my phone. I don't care. I mean, it's just not a thing. And so the money should not be a thing either. It's all about trusting your spouse and knowing that they have the best intentions for your marriage, and especially those of you that came into the marriage with the trauma, we'll call it, of being, your spouse, your previous spouse was extremely controlling with money. Or they hid money and then did bad things, whatever that might be, okay? I understand. And so full transparency, sharing the money is the best thing so that everybody can see what is happening. There's no way for someone to, do something negative. Not that you would. I'm not saying that. But I know that when Mike and I first got married, I had control issues. I was I wanted to know where everything was going. At the time, can I talk about our early years and budget? at the time, I was better with money than Mike was. And so I actually, long before we got married, I took over his bills. Now, I wasn't necessarily paying them or whatever, but what I was doing is I was, making sure they got paid because he was working 2 jobs at the time. And like I said, I was better with money. And so, go ahead.
So I just want to say right quick, why was I so bad with money? Because I'm not now. But so my dad's version of budgeting was telling my mom to write the check whether we had the money or not. I had zero budgeting training, zero. I legitimately thought budgets were for people who had enough money to pay their bills, and I didn't have enough money to pay my bills. So what was a budget? I mean, I was terrible at handling money. So take this as a lesson. Just a side note. This is the freebie. Train your kids how to budget, because not every kid gets trained how to budget. And I got to the point, well, we got to the point, but a lot of it was my debt, to the point where a lot of people were telling us to claim bankruptcy. I wouldn't do it. And we fixed it.
Yep.
We fixed it. So it's doable, but I'm just telling you, I had zero money experience. That's the only reason that she took it over. And I knew that. I didn't know what I was doing.
Well, and I never did anything without talking to him. But what he needed was a plan. And unfortunately, his bills were larger than his paychecks. And so, there were times that I put money in his account because I had extra money. Now, I'm not saying I was a financial genius, because I wasn't. But I'm just saying that is how it worked for us. Now, later on in this video, we're going to talk to you about how to set it up in a way that it's easy to manage, and you're able to know where all of your cash is going. Because that's the number one thing that I learned when I was, in the financial services industry for a while, that the best thing to do is spend all of your money on paper before you spend it, really spend it. And it helps you to be able to have that nest egg and start, investing it in whatever way you decide is the best. So that's my long way of saying, just put your money together. That's the best thing you can do for your marriage and for the household.
So going back just a little bit, our number 2 point was, decide who handles what. And we made that pretty clear that one or the other needs to handle it. Now, both can handle it. Typically, we would say that would be an either or scenario. There have been many years where she's handled it, and there have been many years where I handle it. Currently, I'm handling the money. But before that, she handled it for 6 or 7 years. Yeah. So we just get, you get to that tipping point where the bills are just about to make you, commit hara-kiri. And so that's when it's a good time to switch.
Well, and part of the reason that we started doing that is because it is overwhelming to always be the one that has to sit down for a couple of hours every time a paycheck comes in, and budget out the money. I forgot what I was going to say.
It's okay. But the point is don't disconnect. You guys need to talk to each other every month about what's going on in the bills, what's been paid off, what are you getting close to paying off, where are your goals at, that kind of thing. You don't just pick one and then walk away. We knew, to be completely transparent, we knew it was time for Brenda to hand the bills back over to me, because I couldn't ask her a question about the bills without serious pushback. And not because I had asked.
Let's just be honest. I had attitude.
Not because I was asking what the heck she was doing. I wasn't accusatory at all. I would simply ask where we were at with something. And because she was so stressed about the bills, I'd get yelled at. And at that point, I did put my foot down at that point. I said, you're done with the bills. It's my turn. And turn around. She was much happier after that.
Oh, geez.
Because I could see, sometimes you do have to step in as either the husband or the wife and say, this is not helping you, and it is definitely not helping us. It's my turn. It's my turn. Or even, hey, let me take it over for just this time and I'll handle it. Don't worry about it. But things to keep in mind.
Well, and sometimes when you're sitting there and you're like so focused on the bills, it's hard to see other things outside of the bills and investing mindset and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
And so that's really where I was hung up. It wasn't like we didn't have enough money. It's just I was stressing about things that I couldn't control, or I was trying to do things exactly like I thought Mike would want me to, but I didn't want to talk to him about it because I felt like I was not doing a good enough job or something. I don't even know. I was
Well,
just
every question was perceived as questioning her ability to do the bills, when it wasn't. It was just me saying, "Hey, how much do we have left in this account?" That's all I
Yeah.
wanted to know, because we need to go get this. But so
Well, and are you gonna? This might be a good segue into the accounts.
well, I am going to go. So
Yeah.
so we're going to talk about number 3, but number 3 on our paper here is to plan for long-term goals together. But we're going to talk about long and short-term goals. So long-term goals, of course, are retirement and a home and vacations, things like, well, can be vacations depending on where you're trying to go.
Yeah.
Of course, if you're just going to Grandma Joe's one state over, that's not a long-term goal. That's a vacation, sure, but it's a short-term goal. So how do you make all these things happen? Well, it's like Brenda said, you got to spend it on paper. So I'm going to show you now. Today, I'm not showing you the spreadsheet, but today I developed a spreadsheet of my own for us. And on that spreadsheet, I track all of the bills, when they're due, and I have them due, this is me, in order of date. So from the first all the way down, and the corresponding bill, how much it should be, whether it got paid, well, when it got paid, how much it actually got paid, what the date was, and any notes. And then on credit cards or any loans or anything like that, I keep track monthly over on the side of the notes as to what that balance is. And then I have numbers attached to those that show the order of what we need to pay off. Now, I will say this. We've studied, okay, I'm no financial genius. And we've done some investing in the past. We've done some really great things investing, and we've done some really poor things investing. And we're not where we want to be yet. But the whole point is you got to keep going, right? And part of that is knowing where your money's at and what your money's doing. And so, yes, we have a lot of debt. And for various reasons I'm not going to go into right now. It wasn't irresponsible
No,
debt.
absolutely
It wasn't
not.
irresponsible debt. It was just, you guys all know what's going on, what has happened in the last, 4 to 6 years. So that's that.
Yeah.
So anyway, we have studied many guys. We've studied Robert Kiyosaki and his investment methods. We've studied Dave Ramsey and his investment methods. In fact, most of our boys had to take Dave Ramsey as part of their curriculum in homeschooling, not because we're all in on Dave Ramsey, but because it is a great base to start with. I don't think Dave Ramsey has all the answers, but I don't think Robert Kiyosaki has all the answers, and I don't think Donald Trump has all the answers, and I don't think, and I'm talking from a financial standpoint, I think you have to study a lot of those guys and read a lot of those things to see where. But my point is we keep track of what, every time an account changes, say a credit card, once that amount goes down, it goes right over here so I can see exactly what's in that account or what's left. Because if I know that, let's say I get down to $2,000 on something and I happen to have a surplus of $2,000 somewhere, I can then, we'll discuss it, I may make the transition, because I do, and so does Brenda, I do absolutely believe in the debt snowball when it's appropriate.
Yeah.
Okay, because there's going to be a time you want your money you want to invest your money and keep things moving, and there's going to be a time that you need to stop what you're doing and pay down some things so that you can have a surplus to spend on those other things. So I don't mean to digress too much. Go ahead.
And the one thing that we do want to just mention here, at this point, is one of Dave Ramsey's best tools outside of the debt snowball is always having an emergency fund. Now, he's not the only person that talks about emergency fund.
No.
But we would suggest that you start saving at least $1,000. Have $1,000 that is in a different account, or it's in cash, somewhere else where the budget can't overtake that $1,000, and start there so that when these things come up, you have court expenses, or you have to pay for, I don't know, but the car breaks down, whatever, that you have that money set aside. Then you will stop paying on extra stuff in the debt snowball, and you'll recuperate all of that $1,000. But Dave Ramsey and Robert Kiyosaki both say 3 to 6 months is what you actually need to have in savings off to the side.
Yeah.
And
in expenses, savings and expenses.
yep. Yep. So whatever your monthly outgo is, you need to have that amount for 6 months saved up. And we would suggest that you use Betterment. Betterment is an app, and you can put money in there, but it'll accrue interest way better than your bank account will.
Now, we want to be very careful here. We're not giving financial advice in that respect.
Good point.
Okay. Betterment currently, I have money in Betterment. Betterment is currently showing at 4%. It's a high interest savings account. Okay. Because if you're going to put your money somewhere, it should be growing. And I'm not talking your local bank, because 0.000000 whatever it is that they want to give you, your 50 cents for the year for the $100,000 you got sitting in there, is not growing your money.
Yeah.
When your money sits in the bank, it's shrinking. So if you are unsure what to do with your money, you can use Betterment. And Betterment is only one
Yep, there's many.
account, and we have no affiliation with Betterment.
No.
We use it. That's it. So right now it's at 4%. It fluctuates according to percentage points in the U.S. right now as well. So look, we don't want to inundate you with so much information that you've forgotten why you're watching. So let's back up here.
Okay.
So yes, you need an emergency fund. I would suggest you track your totals on your loans and credit cards every month. Always know where they're at. Always know what's left. I would suggest that you go through and determine, is this a necessary expense or not a necessary expense? Now, let me tell you something that is not popular. My unpopular opinion. It is very easy, I'm going to use video games as an example. It is very easy for a family that's doing well and getting by to look at a family that's not doing well and judge a guy who has 3 kids, who's barely scraping by, who just bought, say, an Xbox game. Here's what people don't think about. That $60 Xbox game, or maybe 20, maybe you got it at GameStop on sale, is going to give him hours of something to do, because he can't afford to do the things, or his family can't afford to do the things that these other families that may be judging him can. So there's nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong with you doing something for the recreation of the family. Because I played video games when I was younger. I played video games with the boys all the time. They loved it. But we got out too. We went camping.
Yeah.
We did the things we could do. My only point is don't be so down on yourself that there's no joy in your life. All right? So you can do those things, but do them sensibly. I'm not saying go out and, well, we bought a brand new camper because that's our thing. No,
Yeah.
I didn't say that. Okay? Maybe you could buy a camper. Maybe it's an old used pop-up trailer.
Yeah.
Maybe it's an actual legit tent trailer from, I don't know, Sportsman's Warehouse or something. But the point is figure that in. So, backing up to where we're at. Maybe you guys have never seen this before. This is a ledger. Yeah, pen and paper type stuff. Okay. If you look in here, I'll go over here. There are many, many lines, many, many columns. This is what we started with, tracking our bills.
Yep.
Every month I had everything written down. I would say I did that. We've been married, we'll be 30 years in September. I only put us on a spreadsheet system in the last 5 years. But I tracked everything on paper
Less
before
than
that.
that.
Yeah. So within the last 5 years, I made the change. I tracked everything on paper before that. But let me tell you something, paper keeps you honest. It takes a while, but it really makes you think about what you're doing. The only reason I went to a spreadsheet was because I saw a better way. I had a system down that I felt very confident in, that I could actually keep track of my money. Doesn't mean I don't make mistakes. Don't be too hard on yourself making mistakes. So short-term and long-term goals. Short-term goals, you should plan a vacation every year. Now, I'm going to tell you right now that if you have debt, guys like Dave Ramsey are going to tell you no vacations until the debt's paid. I told you I like a lot of what Dave Ramsey does. I don't agree with everything. He and I don't agree on 401ks. We don't have to agree on 401ks. He did his research and came up with something. I did my research and came up with something else. It's okay to have your own opinion. All right? Take these things as tools and make them your own. That's the whole point that we're here. We're just giving you suggestions. So, maybe you need a ledger. Maybe yours is a notebook. Okay? I mean, we know people that set up their payments online and then never look at them again. Can you spell bankruptcy? Okay, that's terrible. If you are not, you have to look. Both you and your spouse have to sit down, look at the bills together every month, or at least discuss them throughout the month so that maybe you don't have to have that conversation, right? Because you already know where things are at. Brenda knows exactly. In fact, I will bug Brenda. I'm like, hey, do you want to see where the bills are at? And she's like, no. No, I don't.
When he first took them over, I
Yeah.
just was like,
She's
I
like,
can't.
nope, I don't want to see it. I trust you. Okay. But she's always known, can you ask me at any time
Oh,
what's going on
yeah.
with the bills? Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I don't do the bills the same that he does. And what I love about the way that he does it is, well, there's a lot of different things, but specifically
we both have good things we do with the bills.
yeah, the way,
But none of them are the same.
yeah, but the way that he just sees ahead of time, he does a better job than I do in that specifically.
Looking ahead.
Looking ahead,
Which is
yeah.
interesting because I suck at chess. Anyway.
Yeah, and I love strategy. I love it so much. Yeah, so it's just so interesting, and I've actually learned things from him. Now, at some point, Mike is going to redo a financial session for all of you, or series that he did years ago. He's going to redo it for you guys, and we'll put it on the channel. Because there's such a need to know some of these things that are not talked about in pretty much any situation. I mean, you have to read a lot of different books and study a bunch of different things. And so he's done a really great job. So at some point, he's going to redo that.
Something I do want to touch on. So yeah, this one's still about blended families, but finances are important. I mean, this is one of the most looked for topics when it comes to marriage on YouTube. So, things to remember. Okay, there are a tremendous amount. Let's talk about generations for just a second. A little segue. Generation Z is absolutely convinced that the economy is such that they'll never be able to buy a house. And millennials, a lot of millennials have bought into the same thing that well, the economy is so bad. Here's what I want to tell you, okay? I am a history buff of sorts, okay? In the 40s, those kids said that the economy would never support paying for a house and raising a family. The next generation after them said exactly the same thing. The boomers, yet again, but they made their way. Gen X, you can go back and find plenty of places where kids our age at the time were concerned that we were never going to be able to buy a house or find a career. This is not an uncommon thing. Every generation historically says the same thing, and every generation finds a way around it. I'm telling you right now, whether you're Gen Z, whether you're millennial, whether you're Gen X, I don't care. You can do it.
Yes.
The house can be bought. The things can be overcome. You just have to know how to look at money. That's it. I'm not a genius, but I'll tell you right now that growing up was not what I have now. Not what I have now. And it was a lot of hard work, but it's doable. And we're not done. We have no plans for a traditional retirement. How boring. Boring. If I can fish now, I can fish then. I don't need to just fish then. Come on. So these are the things to remember is budgeting is imperative. This is the reason that people think that I can't do anything, I don't have enough money. It's because they forget that budgeting is a tool. And really, budgeting's the hammer. Yeah. And everything else is the nail. And in this case, it's okay. What do you got?
What?
What do you got?
Oh, well, I don't know. I forgot. Yeah. Okay. You know, budgeting is just such a... It's the way that Mike and I were able to keep me at home with the kids. Now, maybe you're somebody who... You're a woman and you want to work and whatever. But for us, a lot of people ask us questions about how we raised 5 children on one income. I didn't work. I didn't bring much money in. I did every here and there, but it was not a thing. My focus was our kids. And obviously, once I started homeschooling, which I did not always homeschool everyone, but once I started homeschooling, of course, I wasn't making money. But there is a way still today to stay at home with your children and be the main influence in their life if you want to. We have 2 daughter-in-laws, 3 daughter-in-laws that do it. Mm-hmm. So if you're sitting there thinking, well, I can't do this, I want to stay home, but I can't, you can do it.
Those daughter-in-laws are millennials and Gen Zs.
They're
And
they're all millennials. Oh, I guess one isn't.
one is not. And they all own homes. And they all have one income coming into the house.
Yep.
So
it can be done. It's not outside of your reach. Whatever you decide, you can do. Okay? But a lot of the times when we have some trauma or when things have happened, it's easy to tell ourselves and let ourselves off the hook and not push forward, right? This has just been a strange week, but not in a bad way. But, Mike and I have every reason, this is not related, but it is a little bit. Mike and I have every reason to never, ever go to church again. We have had some really awful things
over the years
happen. Now, it's not specifically where we're at right now, but we have had a lot of backbiting and just things have happened that most people would be like, oh, I'm never going to church again. Okay, that's not us. Now, how that relates is we told ourselves that going to church was important for ourselves, for our spiritual walk. It's commanded in the Bible, and our kids needed to see it. And guess what? They're all adults, and they still need to see us going to church. So it's very important to us to continue going to church no matter what happens, because there's going to be things that are going to happen in a church that are unfair. Well, okay, pick yourself up, dust yourself off, and move forward in the best way that you can, in the scriptural way. So, anything else?
No.
All right, with that, we are going to be done for this time. It is very, very important for you and your spouse to sit down and just try this starting tomorrow. Sit down and have a money meeting with your spouse, discuss everything that's coming up, and that sort of thing. Even just 15 minutes can help you so much to get on the same page with the money. And the reason that we're making this video is really more to give you kind of some tools before there's a problem. Because really, money can be a problem, right? So you're not alone though. If you feel like you're up to your eyeballs in debt and there's no way to work your way out of it, there actually is. Many of us have been there before, and you're not alone. So with that, we thank you so much for being with us today, and we hope to see you again soon on the next one. Bye.